Hi, everyone. It's Lauren Albandian, coordinator for the ISAR 2022 conference, which will be held August 25th through the 29th in Westminster, Colorado at the Westin Hotel. It's right between Denver and Boulder. It's beautiful, the Rocky Mountains, and the weather's going to be gorgeous. We're going to have 100 speakers delivering a vast variety of fabulous lectures and workshops. And so today I am with my colleague, Caroline Casey. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with me today. I appreciate you. And so everyone, let me tell you a little bit about Caroline. She's the creator of the Coyote Network News, mythological news service for the trickster redeemer within all of us, astro myth political guiding meta narrative, myriad venues, 26-year host of visionary activist radio show Critique and Solution. Guests are planets and liberating humans, author of Making the Gods Work for You. She is a rousing and frequent keynote speaker and MC. And in 1969-ish, she began studying astrology, earning a degree in symbols at Brown regarding everything useful to astrology. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, sweetie.
Look, this is going to be exciting. Are you excited about coming back in person, or do you have any trepidation, or is it just excitement to see the peoples?
No, I feel good. I think Uranus Trickster is guiding our path. If we all just calm down and get out of our own way, then Trickster will do the logistics and we glide into place. This wants to happen, and
I
it's wonderful together. Yeah,
Yeah, I think this wants to happen for sure. So, Caroline, you're doing two lectures at the conference.
yeah.
Friday, the 26th, you're doing Dark O Moon Death and Resurrection Magic to assume cultural narrative leads. Tell me and tell us about what you mean by all of that, and what is that? What can people gather from that?
Well, we get to glean from our encouraged introversion of the last several years, right? And so I'm very ardent about participatory astrology. You know, so it's not so much what's going to happen, because that's a mystery, but what is available with which to cooperate. You know, and this beautiful language of astrology says magic is simply a willingness to cooperate with everything. So the dark of the moon is a time traditionally when people gather to determine the course of culture, and we go, I think that would be a good idea. Um, and we have these big themes that are already brewing within all of us. So how I've come to appreciate astrology even more in these last years is an exquisite language of our interior psyche and its separation by a thin membrane we call identity from the whole huge, big conversation, biological and even cultural. So everything going on in the world, you know, pours into our psyches in some customized form, right? So Uranus, trickster genius in Taurus, nature's a realm of participatory animism. And I feel now in these next few years where Uranus is still in Taurus as crucial for us to humbly, our rogue species, to humbly cooperate with nature's guiding genius. And we go, huh. And I love Sir Herbert Reed's quote, only those serving an apprenticeship to nature can be trusted with technology. We go, right. So what is, participatory animism? So we go, so each planet, you know, residing within each one of us and connecting us to the world. And, you know, in a conference, it's so wonderful because as we speak this language, you know, the planets inside us go, ooh, they love to be talked to and talked about. They go, thank you. They go. So I always go off of the chart of the talks, you know, but whenever you hear this, all these themes are working within us. So I love Uranus Taurus. You know, it's trickster. It's the part of us that comes alive in dangerous times, in ourselves and in nature. It's coyote, it's raven, it's seeds that sprout after cataclysm. It likes against all odds. So now is perfect. That's right. So and then part of what I love is, you know, to give to each part of our psyche the work it does best. Saturn might say one definition of maturity is to have access to all of our skills. So this beautiful language loves to make us, all of us, have access to all of our skills. And we need everyone, everyone's unique contribution. We need the awakened imagination of inner city kids and right-wing golfers and everyone. And in fact, the assignment is to magnetize, animate, and spiral forth the inclusive guiding story of sane reverence going, come on, come on. So how do we also gather together to train, to practice, to not be snookered into polarity? We strengthen whatever we oppose. There we go. And the Dementors feed on polarity. But to be agents of nature, the most predominant pattern in nature is the spiral. When conflicting forces come together, spirals ensue. Galaxies, hurricanes, hair, everything. So how do we tease that into our manner of relating so that we spiral out of polarity? It's also, everything's trying to help us out, reporting in. So what is the liberating trickster hero within all of us coming alive now? Well, it's interested in liberating women and men and the land, and even the tyrant, not counting on it, but to liberate the entire circumstance. So I'm also in love with on Fridays, August 26th, and there are many lectures and many places to be, but wherever you are, this chart will be happening, right? So we have the moon in Leo, forming a yod to Neptune in Pisces. I love this Leo-Pisces conversation, which is happening in the world and in us, going, it's not performance, it's magic. And Neptune in Pisces, and we've just had the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, the two hosts of the Piscean realm have gotten together. And they say all the powerful symbolic languages like astrology, anything that has ever engaged humans to cooperate, anything that's ever drawn forth the good in humans is available now. We say all the symbols, fairy tales, myths that ever were or will be are here now. And so the conversation, it takes us back to the whole Leo. So it's not celebrity, it's again the power of the death and resurrection show. The whole tradition behind us that people would gather, and we don't source power, we invite it by our dedication and our craft and gathering in a conference or whatever. They're going, come on in, power, and animate this story, this gathering, these people's good hearts. And I love, we'll be in Virgo language craft, and the word charisma comes from charis, from which we get charitable, and Eucharist, and Cordelia, dedicated heart in Shakespeare. So true charisma is a charitable heart. We go, well, there's nothing more wonderful than to cultivate deep, sizzly insight with a kind heart. Whew. It takes a lifetime, and we blow it all the time, and then we get back on going, no, that was a little mean. There we go. No, we want to be liberating, that our manner of relating, our language, our way of gathering be fueled by a desire to be liberating. Still spicy. I like Wendell Berry says, be jaunty, even though fully informed. And we go, there we go. So the moon to Neptune, the whole tradition of death and resurrection, where people would gather to invite in power to animate the desirable guiding story. And I so ardently feel that this is astrology's great time to contribute strategy, timing, guiding, for all of us now, because, the world's on fire. And what are we going to do? So the other part of that yod, so we have the moon to Neptune, and then on the other side is the moon to Pluto. What an interesting conversation between Leo and Capricorn and Pisces. So Pluto, death, rebirth, structure of the world. We know that in 2020, and it was Jim Lewis in 1981 who we were having tea, and he goes, oh my God, look at 2020. I'm like, what? And it was the Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, everything conjunction. And then we both said, whoa, what form will the cauldron of death and rebirth take then, do you suppose? Well, there we go. The second century medical writers wrote that pandemics occur when tyrants are in power. And we go, all right, so that's one story. And we go, so Pluto says anything not in accord, any form of human gathering not in accord with nature's guiding genius is unstable and will collapse. Condos built on sand,
Right.
lack of diplomacy, all of that. So as things fall, the in our own personal lives too, the energy that was invested in them is now liberated to be reinvested in our own lives and in the world. And each of us, as we do our own personal work, contributes to the goodness of the world. It's a micro, macro thing. And once the whole realm of biomimicry for humans rather than looting nature to borrow her designs. And the great founder of biomimicry, Janine Benyus, I interviewed her a long time ago. And I asked her, here comes Virgo, what is this biological term, vertical integrated hierarchy? And she said, oh, it's this beautiful thing in nature. It means everything in nature contains the plan of the larger thing it's a part of.
Right.
She said, a tendon in our arms is made of twisted bundled sticks. Each one of those is twisted bundled sticks. Micro, 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 fractal, fractal, fractal. Virgo. And she said, this is what makes for nature's ingenuity, resilience, and self-assembling. So when we all gather to clarify what are we dedicated to, our inner dedication strengthens our outer signal. So we're more likely to be danced into place with the larger thing that we're a part of. And I'm also I've been self-amusing by saying to self and clients and world, part of our assignment is to give to each planetary part of us, each part of our inner democracy represented by a planet, the work it does best. And I
Right.
think Saturn is least understood. So here's my current take on it. Saturn is a part of us. Well, first, our assignment with this beautiful language is to insource everything we've outsourced. And because Saturn's authority and the power of definition and dedication, it's the one we most tend to outsource to sociopathic dingbats or inappropriate leaders, or even just every day, anything that makes us daunted or cringe, like, oh, I'm going to call the dentist, that could be money. No, and it's like, no, insource our goat, insource. So Saturn, as we insource it, is really good at defining things, dedicating, taking vows. But I think Saturn's terrible at how. Well, how am I going to do that? How are we going to do that? Do we have enough time? And we go, no, no, no. Saturn's job is what? Jupiter and Uranus chime in and go, we'll do how. Do common sense things as they occur, because that's magic too. But not to let the compelling illusion of realism be an imaginative impediment. So Saturn, all we want from you is what? Our deep dedication of what? And see, I love also Pluto and Capricorn. I think whatever we call ourselves, no matter how trippy or astrologers or wizards or whatever Pluto says about everything, good cover. Or even, Laura Nalbandi and I create these fantastic gatherings for people and Pluto goes, good cover. Right, because there's always a deeper positive intrigue, a positive conspiracy, like the gathering that you're convening, that we're all convening. The utopian Fourier said, in any ideal community, we must allow for the passion for positive intrigue. Because when people conspire to do something good, it draws upon these elegant parts of the psyche, and we want everything. So Saturn's job is what? Uranus, nature's evolutionary trickster genius, says, oh, humans do ask for help. These transits are designed, global transits, to bring us to our knees, in which we finally go, help! And backstage goes, thank God the humans finally asked, because we can't
Asked.
help until they do, right?
Right.
And at a conference can be an asking, right? It goes,
Absolutely.
oh, we could use help, and it goes, wow. So I also feel in this experimental realm, and we'll get to the Eleusinian mysteries and all. Yeah, you keep me on track. All right. So
I was about to get you right on into those Eleusinian mysteries. So if you could segue to that, that'd be lovely. You've got a lecture on Saturday, the
I
27th.
I can. So we'll do We'll do all the Dark of the Moon, Death and Resurrection magic, tapping into the entire history of humans, gathering the Death and Resurrection show on to Saturday, right? The Eleusinian Mysteries, cross-pollinating with the Asclepions series in Chiron. We'll bring in everybody, right? But I've developed a great affection for Ceres and Chiron. These are the two mythological founders of human ritual theater. Because when we went through the encouraged introversion, part of us might go, didn't humans have ways of navigating such times when there is no certainty? And we go, they did, they did, and again, Neptune backstage says, we got to either kill the humans or heal them. Let's do both. But let's make anything that has ever moved humans to reverent, collaborative cahooting available for fresh expression. So, Ceres and Chiron, founders of ritual theater. Chiron, right? Many astrologers refer to Chiron as the wounded healer, but Chiron and I are bored with that, right? Because he never identified that way. It's true that he could heal where he'd been wounded, but he didn't talk about it. He never complained. And it kind of covers up the much more important part of Chiron. He's the first mentor. He's a centaur. He's a mentor centaur, as a friend of mine says, going to take a centaur mentor journey, right? So 2,500 years ago, Chiron lives in a cave because he is a half horse. But he is the most knowledgeable, kindest, and most cultivated culturally of all beings. So he really represents the right relationship of wild nature, thin membrane, human culture. And so he starts a school for future cultural heroes. He teaches Asclepius how to be the god of healing. He teaches Orpheus how to play the lute, and many students. He cares not about status. But so healing and art, one thing. Ancient mind peers at us and goes, what are you moderns talking about? That there's healing over there and art over there, and neither are that good. They belong together. And in our hearts, they do belong together. And in Chiron's mythology, they do as well. So Chiron's students, their tasks are impossible, but they're always successful after they study with Chiron. So in Chiron's mythology, to be underestimated is considered a positive strategic advantage. Because if you're going to do something impossible, or even have a conference, it's good to make it a surprise, right? So I love that. Again, water, Neptune reversal. When people go, those people don't take me seriously, we go, that's excellent. You get into Chiron school. How fortunate. Every is an if we play with it, And so Chiron, the mentor centaur. So then he goes on a journey throughout antiquity, and he founds these cultural centers that really existed called Asclepions. And we might even imbue the Westminster Hotel as a cunning disguise for an Asclepion.
Oh, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
So we can do that, right?
Yeah.
Because cooperators are standing by and eager to be invited in to animate the structures. Good cover, looks like a hotel. It's actually an Asclepion. So people went there, and they did what we're going to do. The first, and what we've been missing for years. They'd gather, and then they'd have a piece of ritual theater, an opening ceremony, for instance, to remind them of their community's story, the catharsis. Then each person Saturn would dedicate to Neptune to having a healing dream for themselves and their community. They drink a little cup of rhodiola tea, just a lovely adaptogen to bring them into balance and clarity. And then they'd have an amazing dream because people wrote them down. And then it was common sense at the time. They knew that they would only have the power of their dream once they'd given external creative expression to this inward experience. When we're working with clients and ourselves,
Right.
We only have the power of an insight once we give an external creative expression to this internal thing. So they would do that. They'd write a poem, do a dance, just anything. Having expressed their dream, they'd have the power of their dream, and they'd go back to their communities as seed Renaissance people. Let's do it, Laura. Let's do it, right? So, so that's cool. So that's all. Ceres Demeter, goddess of the earth, dwarf planet, so beautiful. And they are trined this weekend. coming up that we'll be
Nice.
cahooting. They're in cahoots. So Ceres Demeter is the founder of the Eleusinian Mysteries, longest. I'll be brushing up even more, and also Ceres highly encourages microdosing. Well, we're going to do, reuniting science, animism, and entheogens. So that's to one side. All right. So, so people would gather in Eleusis um, at the Asclepions, just tonic tea. At the Eleusinian Mysteries, they drank psilocybe mushroom brew. No, no, no. Which Johns Hopkins is now studying, and it's trying to help us out, these sacraments of kinship. They would dance all night, um, and then everyone had a personal insight that they weren't supposed to share, but everyone had a collective vision for over 100 years, right, in which they saw Persephone descending into the underworld a maiden, returning an initiated queen. Let's do that too. Um, and so, on a micro level, for all of us, regardless of temporary age, race, and gender assignment, this descent, like, oh, we're descending to scrape off our conditioned puella or puer selves, the part of us that might have been daunted, and go, how are we going to rise up? Not celebrity hoo-ha, but as agents of what we love in a participatory way. And the country itself, all the countries, in in Islam, salam, peace, is not the absence of violence; it's the presence of oneness, right? We go right, right. That here's the Neptune thing, and so we can think of that, as part of what's been available and increasingly available and very available the weekend we gather,
Right.
which is each one of these powerful transits, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, I love them. They represent huge forces of nature's evolutionary intelligence, and they are keepers of the whole big conversation, biological and cultural. So when they dance with us, each one of them is like a bazillion years of spiritual psychotherapy deconditioning, deconditioning, whew, one's own definition of desirable gathering, one's own definition, but also what are we agents for, and to form a partnership. So pragmatic mysticism, I'm really, you know, um, interested in, in the 1940s, Edgar Cayce, a great Pisces for real, psychic, but he predicted that in the early 1970s, the east coast of America would be deluged by a great flood. And what we got was Watergate. So I encourage all of us now and through the weekend where we get to cahoot, to experiment, to say, can we, in a reverie, can we go backstage in a sense and go, oh, our rogue species, we have behaved really terribly. Can we negotiate to make some of what's coming at us metaphoric rather than literal? If we work our hearts, if we honor fire, can we have fewer fires? If we honor water, can we have water? If we borrow from nature's design, spiraling, in a collaborative rather than a dominating model, can we work some of this out, for as much life as possible? And I feel that that's just an ardent part of our dynamic. But there's so much help, there's so much generosity always being proffered to us now and this beautiful weekend where we gather, going, what's available with which to dance, and where do we dedicate to partner with it?
Excellent. So I just have to say, in this moment, from the moment you started talking about Uranus and Taurus, this breath came into my body and settled. And then through your whole conversation, chills have been running up and down my arms, down my neck.
Ooh.
Just, I am so in your space with you in this moment, Caroline. It was lovely. So, I've almost, I've got a little bit of tear in my eye because it was just hitting everything, heart, mind, all of it. So, this is.
I just want to say two short things. Is that okay?
Sure.
Just animism, it's not a belief, it's just good manners, right? So, and then, just for all of us now and even more powerfully together, to just dedicate the simple thing, dance us into place where we can do the most good, have the most fun, and contribute our gifts to the community in a manner of reciprocal blessing. Yay, okay, there we go.
Yes, I am in that space with you and call it into being as you have said it. So thank you for your graciousness. Thank you for your wisdom, Caroline. Look, everyone, you can come and sit in the space with Caroline and join that energy with her, because it is not something, when you're listening to Caroline, it's not just information coming at you. You join in the space with her, and that is a true experience. And so I encourage you all to come to Colorado and play with us August 25th through the 29th. You can find information at isar2022.org. .org. Thank you, Caroline. You're a blessing, and I am looking forward to seeing you in real time.